But first tonight, Kate Campbell's fight for her court-awarded compensation of $230,000 is headed back to court for what's known as a means inquiry to test, under oath, Luke Woolard's claim that he has no capacity to pay the money. It comes after revelations this week that his mother, MP Janet Woollard, sent an open letter to her constituents defending her handling of the matter and accusing Miss Campbell of vilifying her family. Kate Campbell joined me earlier. Kate Campbell, welcome to 7:30 WA.
Thank you, Andrew.
After 4 years of this, I can't imagine that you've got an appetite for going back to court, but that's exactly what you're doing. Can you tell us why?
I wouldn't say I have an appetite to go back to court. I say I'm exploring all legal avenues that I've got. I'm going back to court because even though Luke says that he's penniless and he has no assets, we don't know that, and how are we meant to take his word for it? So we're going back to court to find out just how many assets he has.
Now, you clearly don't believe either his assertion or the assertion of his family that he simply doesn't have the capacity to pay. Do you firmly believe that he's simply refusing to pay?
I don't know, to be honest. I can't say if he's refusing to pay or if he has the capacity. The means inquiry will actually find that all out for us. A lot of people are saying he should just get a loan from his parents and that kind of thing, but that's really up to the family and them, and it's up to Luke as well. So Luke can explore the avenues that are offered to him once we begin this inquiry.
Now, today I had a look back at Luke Woolard's statement that he made back towards the end of April, saying that he didn't have any capacity to pay. Let's just have a little look at some of what he had to say.
On that terrible night in 2007, when I was 19 years old, I made a stupid decision which I sincerely regret. I've since been subjected to years of criminal and civil litigation, and there's been more adverse publicity than is given to most murderers. I've been left with a criminal conviction and likely bankruptcy for at least 3 years. I hope that the community accepts that this is enough.
Now, as you're watching that, you're shaking your head. Clearly it's not enough for you.
The fact that he mentions the criminal conviction, I just find that really insulting, because he pleaded to the judge to have leniency on him and he didn't end up paying a fine and got off with a spent conviction because he had all these medical fees he knew he had to pay. But that ended at the end of 2008 from memory, and my court case began in 2012. He had just over 3 years to save up, work hard, earn some money, put it aside and give it to me for my medical costs. What has he been doing for the past 3 years?
Now, I also had a look back at an interview I did with Janet Woollard just a few weeks ago, where I put to her a number of scenarios where Mr. Woollard could do exactly that, look at avenues where he might pay that money. Let's just have a look at one of her responses.
Kate and her lawyer were given a choice prior to that, horrific trial, and that was to accept the money that we had offered to cover her medical expenses, or to go ahead with the trial when they knew that Luke had no assets.
Now, she has repeated those assertions again this week, that she made good faith offers. Why were those offers unacceptable to you?
She leaves out the whole entire fact that the first offer was paid in instalments over 10 years. So net present value of that would be under my medical costs, which were incurred. It would have been around between $75,000 and $80,000. So that wouldn't have covered anything, maybe my medical costs a little bit. What about my lawyer fees? What about loss of enjoyment of life? What about loss of earnings? Wouldn't have covered anything. And the second time that was offered was on the steps of the court, and with the condition attached that I make a public statement acknowledging that I knew that Luke was drunk.
Now, she sent out a letter this week to her constituents. What was your reaction when you heard that?
I was shocked and upset, and I actually did let off a few tears, because I just complete disbelief that somebody could do that. Someone, as a member of Parliament, could send that out. I'm still lost for words. I still don't know how to describe it, really.
Now, she made a number of claims in this letter. One of them was that she felt that the legal campaign that you were mounting was an attempt to vilify her family. What's your response to that?
Disbelief again, or more disappointment actually, because if I wanted to vilify her family, why didn't I get the cameras by my bedside when I was in hospital from the very beginning? Why did I wait 3.5 years to actually go to the media it was a last resort. I tried everything out of the eye of the media, out of the eye of the public, to settle, to negotiate, and they just weren't reasonable. And as a last resort, all offers were withdrawn from the Woollards, and my lawyer said, you can't do anything more, you don't have the funds to go to trial, and they said, go to the media, tell your story.
Just reading the judge's comments after your civil trial, he observed that you were very angry towards the family. In fact, he said that Kate Campbell bears a bitter animus towards Luke Woollard and his parents. Are you angry, and is that part of what's driving you here?
I'm not angry. I'm extremely disappointed, because I've always grown up, treat people how you want to be treated yourself, and I don't feel I've been treated nicely at all. Basically, the judge came up with that because I fired back angry comments when lies were put forward that the Woollards had tried to offer support and the mum had tried to visit me in hospital and my parents had banned her. That is just a lie, and that makes me angry. But the Woollards themselves, I never called Luke a monster, and I don't hate them. I'm just disappointed.
The judge also acknowledged the incredible pain that you've experienced as a result of this accident. One of the most curious things in Dr. Woolard's letter this week, that she commented that you'd recovered well. Can you give us a sense of just how well you have recovered?
It has taken me, excuse me, that's one of my symptoms. It has taken me a long time to recover. I was an outpatient for 2.5 years at Fremantle Hospital before I was actually discharged. I've had years of voice therapy, swallow therapy, rehabilitation, physically and mentally. I won't go into that side of things, but it's just been such a long road. She says I went back to studies. I went back to uni with a disabled parking sticker and drove between disabled bays to get to my classes. I wasn't okay, and it took me so many years to get there. And the fact that she brushes that aside with a couple of words, she doesn't realise how close I was to death that night, and the fact that it's a miracle that I actually woke up.
Most of the people I talk to about this case, Ms Campbell, are perplexed and saddened about how it's unfolded. They really struggle to understand the approach of the Woollard family, in the sense that they're prepared to see their son go into bankruptcy rather than find a way to help him pay this compensation. How do you make sense of their stance and their approach in this? I've
stopped trying to make sense of it because it really upsets me. There's no understanding. People go, I just don't understand how they could do this. Neither do I. 99% of people, probably in Perth, don't understand. But if you do try and understand it, it will send you insane, so I've just stopped.
But right now it seems to be the worst of all worlds. You don't have your compensation. Luke Woollard has got this hanging over him. Janet Woolard's political career, if not doomed, now seems at grave risk. What hope do you have that anything positive can be salvaged from this now?
The means inquiry. Basically, from that we can do things like instalment orders, where Luke pays me a certain amount per week over time until the debt's paid off. Or if he's got an income, which I assume he would because most people do earn wages, it's an earnings appropriation order where a little bit is taken out of his pay packet each week until it's paid off. He doesn't have to go bankrupt, and I'm open to negotiation. That's the thing. I don't understand why they won't come back and compromise.
Kate Campbell, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you as well.